So yesterday, Wargaming come up with the big bomb of new ships, and I'm not joking. This is actually ridiculous. If you take a look at these ships, you will absolutely gonna blow your mind. A Pan-Asian battleship, Yimeng at tier 9, which is by the way a Soviet project battleship that does have 12 356mm guns with improved ricochet angles, but that's not enough. They also compensate it with strong secondary battery with good range and accuracy, and here's the most ridiculous part. A ship that for the first time having a third slot, which is aerial and torpedo defense system, reducing the torpedo damage from the aircraft carriers and also from the torpedo boat destroyers by minus 70% along with the super heal. What? What is this battleship? The only thing that the torpedo boats have are the torpedoes that also going to get power crept by this. A brand new Pan-American carrier Independencia at tier 10? What?
No, God! No, God, please, no!
And if that's not enough, this carrier will have access to combat instruction charged in her case by successful bomb and rocket hits. And by the way, if you look at the bombs, you drop tons of armor piercing bombs and they drop 8 bombs per flight. So you have this tactical squadron along with the torpedo bomber, which is probably going to be the bane of battleship because this has the highest torpedo alpha, if I'm not wrong, in the entire game. So you drop 8 torpedoes dealing 5400 damage, that is actually more than the FDR, and your size of attacking flight along with the aircraft per squadron is also insane. Then we have the tier 10 Commonwealth new cruiser coming, and that is Pioneer at tier 10, which actually has 1652mm guns. And by the way, having all the benefits of Brisbane with a 12km radar, as you can see, improved submarine surveillance, and also something that Cerberus known for, and that is to counter submarines with the help of submarine surveillance. So you have the benefits of Brisbane with the radar, and also the benefits of Cerberus with the submarine surveillance. And you have 16 guns with also enabled AG shells. As you can see, you have 16 guns having AG shells and that kinda is ridiculous if you look at the slots or the available consumables. You have the repair party, crawling smoke. So again, straight up power creeping the Brisbane, this is how you do it. You give the crawling smoke, you give the radar 12km, by the way, stealth radar that you can do also in Pioneer, and also the submarine surveillance that you get on Cerberus, and also the ASW strikes also gonna be 11km. And to add cherry on top of that, we are going to see another tier 10. So we have this third tier 10, if I'm not wrong, French destroyer Châteaurenault at tier 10, which by the way I have seen in the Leicester already. Leicester is by the way the Wargaming but a Russian version. By the way, funny enough, it having all the benefits of the gun performance that you find on Z42. So these having 605mm guns. So Châteaurenault going to have 6 guns, but having improved alpha damage on AP and improved HE shell penetration. So the best of the German Z42 along with the best of the Cassard line also. And you will see here that it access engine boost, which is pretty typical of French destroyers, a torpedo reload booster, which again kinda make Cassard look like what, and then also a defensive AFI, which kinda makes Marceau looks like what is going on, why you're getting everything and the best of both Germans and also the French ships, and also the older French ships like the Marceau, like some other French ship like the Cassard, and you are having everything combined in this destroyer Châteaurenault. And then at the end they have revealed the rarity of the following ships. You can see here. So this is this entire devlog about new ships, tons of tier 10, and I will be explaining in detail what Wargaming is really cooking, because I can tell you that Wargaming really wants to get that money. But anyways, we will talk about it. By the way, if you are new to the channel and have not subscribed to this, please subscribe because I make daily World of Warship videos, including the latest development blogs and also the news or guides or something related to the ships that are coming in World of Warships. So I make them, you should subscribe, and let's talk about these new ships in detail. And first of all, we have the European Battleship, the tier 5. They are basically showcasing us the hull and also the visuals itself. So nothing new. We have talked about these new European battleships in my older devlogs. So now they are just revealing the visuals that they haven't shown us before. And you can see here they are coming up with the stats. At tier 5 we have this Tegetov at obviously tier 5. Again, you can go and read out the stats if you want to. I'm not really interested in this ship. What I am however interested in are those tier 10s which I have explained earlier. And you can also see we have the European Battleship Loudon at tier 6. So along with the Thor at tier 10, we have this whole it's the European Battleship Nation. So we will be seeing it sooner in the game. And now let's talk about the most important stuff. So let's talk about the Pan-Asian Battleship Yimeng at tier 9 once again, because that is very interesting. Well, first of all, it definitely looks like the kit bash of some of the Soviet ships. And obviously they have given the turrets of something, I have no idea, but it does have 12 356mm guns with improved ricochet angles, but they are also saying that it is going to have short maximum range. But again, to give it more firepower, they are giving it strong secondary battery with good range and accuracy. Now I don't know what sort of accuracy parameters that does it have. Either it's going to be having those like the Massachusetts, Georgia or Ohio, or maybe something else, but we will eventually see that it's definitely gonna be doing wonders against light cruisers and heavy cruisers because of these improved ricochet angles. We also don't know that either these are Des Moines ricochet angles, because that would be ridiculous in these 12 356mm guns, but we will eventually see. And also her good plating means that it will be very tanky like those of Soviet battleships, because it is indeed a Soviet Project A battleship, okay, but basically in the Pan-Asian battleship flavor. So that is what really it looks like. And obviously the biggest thing that they have given as a gimmick entirely, and that is, well, the aerial and torpedo defense system. If you look at the summary itself of this defense system, they are saying additionally she will be the first ship with new aerial and torpedo defense system consumable. When active, it will reduce torpedo damage greatly for a brief time, allowing you to withstand a torpedo volley during your pushes or when being pushed. Now that is really powerful. And kind of sad for all the torpedo boat destroyers like the Shimakaze. I mean, it is already very difficult with the presence of carriers, with the presence of very powerful gunboat destroyers, with the presence of even annoying submarines. And now you are adding something on top of a battleship hull, a torpedo defense system that just negates all the torpedo damage, all of that you are trying to deal damage with your torpedoes, nullified quickly with this whole thing by just simply a press of a button. And all you are getting as a downside on this ship is going to be that you are neither stealthy or agile. But honestly, you do not need to be stealthy or agile, because if you are in a kiting position, well, if you are tanky enough like those of Soviet ships, as they have said above, her good plating, so in kiting you will take less damage. In kiting you will survive more. So even your concealment might look bad, or you might not be agile, not good in maneuverability, it does not matter, because your gimmicks are still gonna be really good. Improved pan angles, 356mm guns, 12 of them. Like, what is that? Look at that torpedo protection. It is 21%, but you can, on top of that, on top of 21% torpedo protection, but I'm believing that it's gonna improve the torpedo protection further. If you hate carriers, if there is a carrier that has high torpedo alpha, well, you can just reduce that damage straight up by just, pressing the single button for 5 seconds. And for that, you will just take little damage, very little damage. And again, I mean, if there's a Shimakaze on your flank, if there's no Holland, then you just simply use these charges, aerial and torpedo defense system, in your favor. And you, karaboom, you just take less damage. What the hell is that? Like, why Shimakaze, why the ships like Cassard or any torpedo boat destroyer, you just name it, at tier 10, at tier 9 or tier 8, And especially against tier 8s and tier 7s, what they will be doing against this ship that have already low torpedo damage. This just seems to be looking like the future of the game, that every single battleship needs a very unique gimmick to compensate or to make sell to the players, and that is not good. This is not something that I liked at all. Giving an aerial and torpedo defense system on one ship means that the next ship will also going to have something like this in future. It's just a matter of time. Like we have seen a time-based smoke generator consumable on the burrows, and then we have eventually come up with the time-based heal on Sibir, and now we are coming up with the aerial and torpedo defense system. So if some of these battleships that are coming in the game having these sort of gimmicks, what will happen to torpedo boat destroyers? They will eventually gonna die. Like, why would you play torpedo boat destroyers? Honestly, tell me that. I can still say that the carriers will still be fine because they have other armaments, but the torpedo boat destroyers, they rely on tops a lot, and you just completely negate with the help of a press of a button. And that is what this ship really looks like, this Yimeng. Obviously, once we get more information about it, we will talk about it in detail further. And also, to top it off, we have the fourth slot, which is the fighter consumable. Does help against aircraft carriers, limiting the strike only to one. That is the only role of the fighter consumable. Most players think that it is kind of useless, and it is not super good, but it is still defensive against aircraft carriers, limiting the strikes to one most of the time. And then we also going to have the heavy repair teams. Now I have checked out that whole healing power in this ship. So if you use the healing flag, and also if you use the, I don't know what's the name of the flag that improves your survivability, total HP of the ship, and that will give you 20,000 HP per single heal. So for 45 seconds of duration, you most likely going to get 19k to 20k amount of heal. So you have only 2 charges. So even if you get extra charge, which is third, with the help of the captain skills, you will have 3 charges. And 3 charges mean that roundabout you are going to get 60,000 HP worth of super heal. And I mean, it does have a high reload time, which is sort of a downside, and it also does have a high duration time. So if you don't pop it early, well, you might take more damage than healing, and you eventually can not maybe survive, but again, you are tanky enough to deal against that HE spam that is coming on your way. Like with the good plating, I know that it is going to be like that of Soviets. So expect 45mm, 50mm, 60mm maybe. That would be really bad if it is indeed 60mm, because, well, then who's gonna penetrate that 60mm deck? Cruisers will just never gonna do that. Battleships can, but still, it is pretty impressive. The only thing as a downside that I have seen is going to be the firing range. It's actually low, 18.6 kilometer, and also you are a big hull. So that is the only sort of weaknesses that I'm kind of seeing. And also it has 1.9 sigma parameter. Now I don't know whether it is battle cruiser dispersion or battleship dispersion. I'm assuming it's battleship dispersion, since the looks of the maximum dispersion does not look like battle cruiser, but I can be wrong. But this seems like a battleship dispersion with 1.9 sigma on 12 guns. So, and by the way, AP and HE is pretty good, very potent, 30% fire chance. And also the secondaries, if you look at the secondary armament, you do have 152mm guns, great HE alpha, you can set fires. So, and also they have said that it's improved accuracy and range, so you can build it for secondaries, and yikes. And that is what this ship really is about. I can talk about it in more detail maybe if I want to. In terms of concealment, it is really bad. The maneuverability, it is just average, nothing special, and that's basically it. Now they also come up with the tier 8 French destroyer Hoche at tier 8. Now it has the benefits again of German destroyers. Like for example, if you look at the details are here, as you can see, it carrying the largest guns mounted on any French destroyer with their improved German AP alpha and HE shell penetration. So you expect the thing along the lines that you find on German destroyers, and also you have 4 guns, and that's what they say, that it suffers a lot because of that, because it does have a long reload time. But they did given it a main battery reload booster, and also, well, they are saying that the main damage output is going to be from her torpedoes with 9 km range. Let's see the stats in general from whole perspective here. And you can see here we have the 4 guns, 150mm. The HE Alpha looks pretty much like typical German, like the HE penetration is 38mm. The AP Alpha looks also pretty like those of Germans at lower tiers. And then obviously we have 4 guns. We do have, in terms of consumables, in terms of torpedoes, we do have 14k damage worth of tops, 9km range, 60 knots of speed, which is, I would say, slightly slow, not gonna lie, but the torpedo detection is pretty decent. Now here comes the maneuverability. Maximum speed is 36 knots, and well, your concealment is actually pretty good. Like if you build it for concealment, you know, you can, for a French destroyer, it seems to go under 7 kilometers, so pretty typical of that. And since it's a tier 8, you can actually improve the concealment with the help of, you know, slot 5. So your concealment can go pretty good, even below, I'm not gonna say, I would say below 6 kilometer, maybe it's 6 kilometer. I need to check exactly the numbers, but it is gonna be very decent in terms of concealment for a French destroyer. And also you have torpedoes, you have main battery load booster, you have engine boost, again typical that you find on French destroyers. So the gimmicks are pretty simple. You have the German guns, okay, you have the torpedoes that deal pretty decent damage with 9km range, and you have really good concealment. And on top of that, if you broadside find cruisers, well, you just slap main battery load booster, and for that time you will absolutely gonna smash them. And even if you are fighting against enemy destroyers, that main battery load booster will be handy, along with again the typical engine boost, and again the French saturation is there for that as well. And by the way, you have almost 19, or I would say 20k HP. You can even improve it with the help of, I would say, the survivability flag that improves the total HP pool. So you can improve it more than 20,000, which definitely seems pretty nice for tier 8, especially that it does have that French saturation, which you can see here. So yeah, it does not have smoke, but it does feel comfortable if you are using main battery load booster to fight cruisers sometimes fighting DDs with really good concealment, with really good engine boost. And obviously the star of the show, the way to play this ship is going to be more of a torpedo boat destroyer. That's what I believe. And if you take a look at the reload time, well, it's not that good, 8.5 seconds. So that means that if you have to farm damage with the help of guns, then you most likely use the main battery load booster. And that is what Hoche at tier 8 is about, this French destroyer basically having a couple of gimmicks attached onto the ship. And then obviously the Pan-American carrier Independencia at tier 10. Hopefully I did not butchered this pronunciation. I'm sorry if someone just get offended, but that's not my intention. My intention is to basically explain what this carrier is about. This is, by the way, the first tier 10 premium Pan-American carrier, and it's a Colossus class light fleet carrier, which means that it used to have a history from the Royal Navy, which you can already see. I'm not interested in the history of the ship. I'm, however, interested in what gimmicks on a carrier, because carrier, in my opinion, because I'm an experienced carrier player, I can basically say it with very clear words that it's indeed an overpowered class. And giving more gimmicks like the combat instruction will definitely gonna be, I don't think so it's a good thing, but let's see what combat instruction we are getting in return. So basically what they are saying that in order to get your combat instruction charged, well, you have to maybe use the tactical squadron, which is the armor piercing bomb and HE rockets. So you have AP bombs, okay, in a tactical squadron, and you have the HE rockets that if you deal a lot of them, if you get a lot of hits, you are going to have a significant improvement in aircraft replenishment time. So which means that, well, you will have not only these bombs and rockets coming once again with the help of sort of the F key, like you just quickly able to reload these bombs and rockets. You also going to improve one of the most powerful squadron in the game for torpedo bomber, honestly. Now FDR is still very powerful without a doubt, but if you look at the torpedo bomber stats on this carrier, you will eventually see that it's gonna be the bane of carriers. Oh, sorry, the bane of battleships. It will do significant damage with the help of those torpedoes. So if you look at the tops, her regular her regular squadron, which is actually the torpedo bomber squadron, consists of torpedo bombers with powerful torpedoes. However, their regeneration speed and starting capacity are very low. So what they are doing, you are using bombs and rockets, you fill up the combat instruction, and then you just basically improve the regeneration speed and the capacity that it does not have in the torpedo bombers. So you basically rack up the firepower on the torpedo bombers with the help of F key. And if you take a look at the F key and also the torpedo bombers, you will eventually see what I'm talking about. So here you can see it's a Colossus class carrier. So you expect amazing concealment but really bad speed. And as you can see, not good speed at all at tier 10. And your concealment is really bad. Again, the concealment is really good and your maneuverability is really bad. I'm sorry if I just messed up talking, but that is the reality. And also, if you take a look at the planes itself, well, they are tanky planes. You can see here that the torpedo bombers does have really good speed. Not good speed, not a good HP pool, but having, I would say, average speed. Like, for example, the FDR torpedo bombers, they can have a maximum speed of 166 knots with the help of captain skills and upgrades. So if we apply the captain skills and upgrades on the torpedo bombers, you can have slightly more than 166 knots. I think there's a captain skill which improves the speed, right? So you will have more than 170 knots with torpedo bombers. And obviously we have the dive bombers. These are AP bombs. That basically is a tactical squadron. And if you have the size of attacking flight that is 4, you have bombs in payload that is 2, you drop 8 bombs. And 8 bombs that deal 4,900 damage per drop. So I don't know the reticle of dive bombers, but if it does have a very simple, you go pinpoint and shoot and just deal massive damage, well, I will not gonna be a big fan of that. In fact, I will definitely gonna fear about this, I would say, carrier if it's coming when I'm playing battleships. And by the way, you have another tactical squadron. As you can see, you have pretty decent speed this time, not a lot of HP on these planes. Again, these are attack rockets, so they do have less HP, but again, they will have more speed, so you can still be able to have a strike. And you have 5 size of attacking flight, and you have a lot of rockets in payload. So 5 into 8 is 40. So you basically throw 40 rockets, having 33 millimeter HE penetration, dealing pretty mediocre damage, but again, you have good pen, and well, you throw a lot of rockets. So again, if the reticle is small and you drop on a DD, you will definitely gonna counter destroyers in that way. And if you want to counter battleships or cruisers, you will dealing against those classes with the dive bombers and also the torpedo bombers. Now, this is the most ridiculous part. The torpedo bombers, they have a size of attacking flight that is 4. They have a size of squadron that is 12, which means that you can have 3 drops on a single battleship, and you have 4 torpedoes cross 2, that is 8 torpedoes in payload. 8 torpedoes dealing 5,400 damage on a single attacking flight. 8 torpedoes dropping, or I would say dropped by a single attack flight, and then you have 2 more attack flight remaining on a squadron. And that tells you a lot, that how much damage that you can do. To give you a perspective, the FDR in a attacking flight has 2 planes, and they do drop a lot of drops, 4 of them in a single plane, and they do 4,200 something like that damage. And that is more than the FDR in a single drop. That is more alpha than even the Nakhimov. Nakhimov have 5,200 damage in 7 planes. These having 8 torpedoes. And Nakhimov has 7 torpedoes. FDR has 8 torpedoes but less damage. Midway has 6 torpedoes but less damage. This has the highest alpha potential in the game. If I'm not wrong, you can always let me know in the comment whether I'm wrong or right, but I do believe that we are getting the torpedo bomber damage in a single drop that deal a lot of damage. Now we have to check what sort of reticle we get. Are we going to have that diverging reticle that you find on Malta or something like that? We will eventually see. The speed is 35 knots, very straightforward. The arming distance is not too bad. It's not too bad. You can improve the arming distance with the help of captain skills. So this looks to be pretty insane. Now, I was talking about the gimmick, which is the let me show you the combat instructions. So you are going to have basically the progress triggers by if you land a lot of bombs and land a lot of rockets. If you're able to complete the combat instruction, get your F key ready, well, the activation will give you aircraft preparation time by minus 97.5%. Now, I don't know how much the duration of this activation itself will be, but if it is for a long time, your torpedo bombers, and they have said in the dev blog that your torpedo bombers will have a very bad restoration time, which is indeed the reality. You have 200 seconds of aircraft restoration time, so that is a long time. But again, once you have the F key ready, you will load out all the payloads, even the payloads from the AP bombs, the dive bombers, even the payload from the attack aircraft very, very quickly. And then your torpedo bombers, and even if they have bad restoration time, it does not matter. You're just going to be having 97.5% improvement in the restoration time, preparation time. No, sorry guys, wait. I might have just messed up. It is aircraft preparation time, which means that it is going to be for some seconds, and you just quickly able to load out the planes. I don't exactly understand this. Is it the restoration time? It's not. It is the preparation time. So here's my question. If it's not restoration time, it's preparation time, which means that at least the tactical squadrons will be instantly ready, okay? And what about the torpedo bombers? If I don't have, for example, a lot of torpedo bombers, right? If I, for example, the number of aircraft on deck is 16, okay? If I launch 12 planes in a squadron, so that is 4 torpedo bombers remaining. So if I get the F key ready up, if I just press the F key, will I get all of my planes in a deck ready? Like fully ready? If that's the case, that is just absolutely broken. If, for example, it's not restoration time, it's preparation time. It says aircraft preparation time. If it's the restoration time, then you get 1 plane ready on a torpedo bomber at least, okay? But if it's the aircraft preparation time, I don't know for how long. If it's like loading out a full squadron, and just completely filling the deck after you press the F key, that will be completely broken, because these bombers are no joke. These bombers are no joke. I don't know. We have to eventually check out these stats once they even more information share them with us. But this looks to be pretty insane, not gonna lie. The torpedo bombers having the highest alpha in the game. You drop so many torpedoes and you have like 3 attacking flights on a single squadron. You can just probably do like 40-50k damage on a single drop on a battleship. 50k is very much possible. And then if you use the HE rockets, you set a fire, he DCPs, and then you come up with the torpedo bombers and you get a permanent flood. That would be ridiculous. Now, the best thing about this carrier, that at least it does not have smoke. If it does have smokes, that would be just straight up ridiculous. Now, I don't know the deck armor of the ship. They even didn't show us the model, so we can't be sure about that, but I'm sure it should be very squishy because it's the Colossus class light fleet carrier, so that should be a very squishy carrier indeed. But again, another copy paste of the Colossus class aircraft carrier, and this time now we have the Pan American carrier. This looks to be very interesting, without a doubt. We will talk about it, make a review on this once it hits the live servers. I don't know when they will release it, but at least we know some of the initial stats. And now we have the Commonwealth Cruiser Pioneer, which unfortunately kind of power creep the Brisbane and Cerberus in a really new level, right? So you basically have 152mm guns, you have 16 guns, okay? You have 3 turrets at the front, which means that you can easily farm with 75% of your firepower. That's what UrAvgWarGamer is saying, that it's allowing you to use the 75% of your firepower when firing forward. Obviously, the stern turret will have bad firing angle, and if you want to use all the guns, then you have to show broadside. That's what they have said. But again, the biggest thing is about this cruiser, Common Pioneer at tier 10, that it does have 16 guns. It does have, I would say, kind of like the Jinan in terms of, I would say, the range. Again, 14.5 is not impressive, but again, you have the smoke. So if you play it along, if you know what you're doing, look at the crawling smoke. So you have a crawling smoke, you have the surveillance radar to counter DDs, you have the submarine surveillance to counter subs, and you have the ASW strikes that having the reach of 11 kilometers, which means that you can counter submarines really hard. You can counter destroyers really hard, since you also have the stealth radar. 20 seconds, just like on Brisbane, but a stealthy radar, because again, if you look at the concealment, if I showcase you the concealment, you have 12.3. So if you improve the concealment from 12.3 to around 10-ish kilometer, something like that, you have still a full radar buffer, a stealth radar against an enemy DD that's just going to catch completely off guard, and you can always smoke up. You can always smoke up with the crawling smoke generator instantly the moment destroyer spots you. And then he will be in your radar, and your smoke firing penalty is still 6.2. So if anyone pushes in your crawling smoke, well, he's doomed to be dead. Now, I don't know about the DPM numbers, but the reload time seems to be looking balanced. Not gonna lie, the alpha, HE alpha looks okay, but the reload time is definitely on the higher side, but it is 16 guns. At least it's not another Smolensk, okay? Smolensk is still ridiculous without a doubt, but it has 4.5 seconds of reload time on 16 guns. This has 7.8 seconds, but if you improve the reload time, you can get it to around 7 seconds for sure. So that is what this cruiser is. Having the gimmicks of, I would say, the older ships like the Brisbane, like the Cerberus, and you just created a new ship. Like, this is I don't know what to say. And then by the way, I haven't even checked out the torpedoes. Well, you have torpedoes, 16 of them. Like, hello, what? Why would I play Brisbane? Why would I play Brisbane? You know, for someone in the wargaming realized, okay, Brisbane is not really good, right? It does not have smoke. A lot of players hate Minotaur hull. What if we come up with a design that have the torpedoes like the Brisbane? If I'm not wrong, these are the same torpedoes that you find on Brisbane. What if we come up with the smoke, which is the biggest problem or a downside of a Brisbane? That's kind of makes Brisbane life tough. And also give a radar, give a submarine surveillance, and call it a day. And literally calling it a day. What is going on? Now, I don't know how much juice Wargaming will, suck from the player base in order for the player to get this ship. We will eventually find out, because this is a tier 10 and a lot of players do find tier 10s interesting. And that's why we have 3 tier 10s in this development block. 3 tier 10s. That is crazy. Honestly, torpedoes. Maneuverability is not bad. Like, you have really good concealment, considering you have smoke, you have repair party, you have DCP, you have crawling smoke, radar, submarine surveillance. 4 charges, by the way, if you build it with captain skill. So, yeah, actually a counter to destroyers and submarine at the same time, along with the defensive smoke. Like, well, I just wonder, like, Wargaming banned a tier 7, or at least remove it from sale, a tier 7 Belfast. And I remember in 2016, Belfast used to be absolutely broken for having a radar and a smoke at the same time. And also, well, the only thing that I'm missing here is the hydro. If it does get the hydro, that will actually become a Belfast at tier 10, sort of. But you can already see that it is still gonna be pretty good, right? If you do not let any destroyer push into you because of the radar, then how you will eat torps? It's very difficult, honestly. If you know there's a DD, you can always move in your crawling smoke, and you will have very less of a chance to eat torps, because you just radar him, you just put him out of the way, and then you just basically farm damage to anyone that is pushing in you, and if someone spots for you. So this looks to be pretty insane. This looks to be very interesting in some way or the other. It has 1% torpedo protection. By the way, guys, this is the weakness. 1% torpedo protection is the weakness of the Commonwealth cruiser Pioneer. Yes, and here's the funny part. We are also going to get the legendary captain coming in. The legendary captain, exactly tailored. I won't be surprised if that captain will be exactly tailored for this cruiser. That would be even more hilarious, I can tell you that. And that is entirely possible, I can tell you that as well. So let's go to the French destroyer Châteaurenault at tier 10, which by the way have the gimmicks of the Cassard line, the gimmicks of the Z42, having a really good reload time. As you can see, you also have really good saturation. Now it does not have smoke, which is again typical of French destroyers. But this Châteaurenault is basically more of a torpedo destroyer that you have find on tier 8 above. We have the new tier 8 above, I don't remember the name, but now we have a tier 10 version, Châteaurenault. Now it has 3.3 seconds of reload time, which is really good. German improved pen, which is 26mm. Now I don't think it's gonna be doing much. Like some cruisers will be fully penned with HE, so the HE is gonna be fine. I'm not gonna say it's really interesting, but at least what happens to the AP if you get the Z42 AP on a French destroyer Châteaurenault, what's gonna happen is that you suddenly start to penetrate onto the broadside destroyers, because it's a very low caliber gun, 105mm guns, just like the Z42. You will be able to penetrate on the broadside of destroyers, so you will get full AP pen damage on a destroyer broadside with the help of these Z42 guns. So gimmick of Z42 straight up copy pasted onto Châteaurenault. That's what it does in this case. Okay, and then we have the torpedoes. You have 12 of them, and well, they have limited range, but they do deal a lot of damage, 19,500. But again, there is something that I would like to share, that just like the Cassard line, they have the maximum range of 9km, but past 6km they have a damage drop off. So again, the Cassard line also does the same thing. So if you have any battleship that basically past 6km, okay, so if the battleship had eaten the torpedoes past 6km, that's what I would say, you will do less damage. But again, it's gonna be pretty good, right? Even if you drop it from 9km, I don't know how much the percentage will drop if you drop these torpedoes past 6km onto a battleship, but I'm sure that the torpedo will be still doing round about 18,000 or maybe something like that. And since you do have a lot of tops, you do have okay reload time, you will be pretty fine. Okay, so you are basically more of a torpedo boat, and also by the way having good guns with AP on smashing DDs. And then obviously you have really good speed. Again, the thing about the French ships, 41 knots, you can improve it with the help of Sierra mic, and if you use the engine boost, which is 20% increase, you can go up to 50 knots for sure, very easy. And then you also have torpedo reload booster that you find on, I would say, maybe the Hoche, maybe on a Pan-Asian destroyer, the Yimeng. So you basically have the torpedo reload booster. So if you want more torpedoes to drop on a target, well, they have given a torpedo reload booster. And then obviously a defensive AA fire, because why not? We need something to fight against carriers. At least Marceau feels sad and bad that all the gimmicks that the older ships have, all the gimmicks that we all know are good on some of those older ships, they somehow managed to give it to this brand new destroyer, Châteaurenault. So yeah, I probably have explained it everything like about it. As you can see, really good HP, 26,800. You can get it to around maybe 27, 28, something like that, with the help of the flag, the survivability flag. So that is the whole devlog. And obviously then we have the target race, another premium coming at tier 8. They are showing us the visuals, and then obviously the rarity tags. You can see here I have made some videos about it. I have made the video about these rarity tags. As you can see, I-5644 uncommon, Le Havre uncommon. I have explained that why you should avoid these two ships and maybe go for the Aki, Bremen and Aki, Bremen and Hawaii. Those will be worth more than these two ships, I-5644 and Le Havre. And Wargaming has literally confirmed it with the help of this rarity reveal. So that is pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. That is a hell of a devlog, without a doubt. It's taken some time, but at least I have covered everything, and you can now basically have enough information, and you should expect them maybe added to the game at some point. So thank you guys, and take care. Peace out.